Historic Preservation Commission to order. Is there a motion that we approve the agenda?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion is made and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We've all received the minutes from our last meeting, February the 20th. Are there any additions or corrections to those minutes as presented? If not, is there a motion that we approve the minutes as presented?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Staff report. Kate, do you have anything for us?
Just one item. So Archives, I'll email this to you guys too so you have it in writing, but Archives and History released the dates for their regional training for the year, and the one nearest to us is going to be in Boonville on August 5th. I'm going to need one person to go. So everyone start thinking about if you're going to be free on August 5th. Yeah, but a lot of people have been, or there's Preservation Boot Camp in Jackson also, if anyone is interested in going to that, and that's at the end of April. So I'll send out an email tomorrow with dates. We need one person to attend training each year to maintain our certified local government status, which is how we get grants like the one we just used to redo our design guidelines.
And what is the date of
The Boonville one is August 5th. And they haven't released a time yet, but normally they're like a half day situation.
Well, between now and August 5th, we will make certain someone on the
we'll find
commission
somebody. Yeah.
steps up. Thank you.
If not, the chairman will step
If not the chairman, yeah. We'll work hard to get a commissioner there. We don't have any formal COA cases today. We have a complimentary review requested by Jeremiah Wade and Jeremy Corcoran for additions to new construction at 503 North 14th Street. We had a complimentary review of the same property, I believe, in December of last year, and we welcome you back. Kate, do you want to lead that, please?
So like Jack said, we heard a complimentary review for this item at the end of last year. The applicant is returning to the commission to seek feedback on changes and additions to the existing structure, as well as a new garage accessory dwelling unit. The existing building is described in the Historic Resources Inventory Survey as circa 1900, one-story, three-bay frame with asbestos shingle, Queen Anne cottage. Changes to the existing structure include additions to the front, rear, and side elevations. The applicant also intends to build a new garage and apartment in the rear yard. Since the initial complimentary review for this project, staff received historic photos from a prior owner of the building dated 1931. Those were included with this report and also shared with the project architect and with the Goffs. Those photos, as well as the Sanborn map from 1948, show a front porch across the front of the property, similar to one that the applicants are proposing here. And so that's an interesting find and supports their desire to install a new front porch. So staff believes that based on this new information, it would meet the guidelines for the applicant to install that element. I included several design guidelines references in your report, and as well as those photos that we received. Yeah, I'm happy to answer any questions you guys may have. I know that the homeowners would like to.
Could
present.
you show us the photos, please?
Sure.
And it's great that you said you had those. It's so good that you're able to use them to support your intentions.
Fine. So here's the one we have of the front. So you can see in the left side where that porch is going across, which right now I believe there's just a front door overhang, right? Yeah. And you'll also notice on the new plans, the window openings are very similar to those that we see here in the newly changed plans.
Replacing the double ones that are there now with what was more appropriate.
And also the plans for the most visible side, which is the side that faces Washington, are much more in keeping with the current house than in the prior side.
Great.
So those two most visible elevations. And another thing to note is that the new accessory building was pushed back significantly toward the side fence. So it's sitting further away from the street and behind the building line of the existing house.
Yeah.
So. I believe the Goffs would like
Leave
to
it
present.
on that one for a
This is the front.
second, if you would. We really appreciate your reaction, your response to the earlier meeting that we had, and your new plan is I think much more in line with guidelines and what we all hope that it can be. We're looking at the original facade of the face of the house, and I do recognize that the windows that you're proposing are more like this, if not exactly like this. Other features on the front of the proposal, do they mimic what we're looking at here from the original sign?
I think the Goffs would like to present, and maybe we can have Jeremy take you through that.
Okay.
Their architect, yeah. Before we do a lot of questions.
Right.
Good afternoon. Thank you for the chance to do this. I'm going to cover like a little bit of an over. I'm sorry.
If you
I'm
would- yeah.
sorry. I'm Stacy Goff. My wife Leanne and I are the property owners. Jeremy will be the person to answer your questions, but I thought it might be helpful if maybe I talked a little bit about how we were thinking about this since our meeting in December. I would at the outset like to thank Ben and Kate. They've been very helpful, very responsive. When you see the fact that they took the time to go run down, this picture, give you some, they haven't been sitting on it, so we really appreciate their help and their feedback. What we've tried to do since December as we've iterated through this is, I'd say, maybe four things. One is to stabilize the structure and take care of some deferred maintenance that's there, especially as it relates to the roof and the flooring and the foundation. The house just needs some basic work to kind of get it back to standard. We would like to rehabilitate some of what I would describe as the substandard additions that have been done over the years. You see that along the Adams Street side. You see it across the back where the carport is and where that little shed roof was added. I think our plan proposes to rehabilitate those in a way that lets us bring them more into what is intended to be more of a primary residence, and in a way that's more consistent with the historical character of the base house. We do propose some modifications, about 150 square feet of total new footprint to allow us to kind of make it more of a, I think the house as it exists today, Jeremy, might be 1,500 square feet. So we need a little more room if it's going to, serve its intended purpose. And then outside of that, taking your feedback from December, working with Ben and Kate, trying to just otherwise minimize the changes that we made to the external elevations. A few things that I would call out, and Mr. Garner, you touched on this. Our proposal for the front of the house, other than taking the porch back to its original length and location, really doesn't change the front elevation of the house at all, except, well, the windows get more in line with the original house. The Adams Street side does change, or we propose it to change, where we've got that little side walkway and that carport there today. You'll see the plan calls for incorporating that into the house with a style that's more consistent with the original structure, and to make what's the carport today more of an outdoor area. That does, so there is an effect there on the Adams Street side. One thing I would call out is we know that we're sitting on like a bright white spot of a lot right there on the corner of Adams and 14th. And we don't have an exact plan right now, but if we get approval and we move forward, we would expect to do some sort of planting-based landscape to kind of soften that side a little bit. I don't know what that looks like, but that would be part of the plan. Other than the conversion of that left-hand side, we only propose about 150 square feet, as I said, of additional footprint, and that 150 square feet is on the back, and on the non-Adams Street side. So it's in as good a place as it can be to not be, visible from the street. And we do make an effort to try to make that consistent with, obviously, the existing architecture. We do propose to convert the attic to take in some square footage up there, so that does call for a change in that rear and that side roof line. But again, it's on the non-Adams Street side, it's on the rear of the house, and you'll see from the drawings, we try to emulate as best we can the look of the front of the house with the scaled shingles and so forth as we look to make that change. The garage, Kate mentioned this, we have tried to push it back, if you will, to kind of be in the corner where it kind of stacks up against the garage structure that's on the neighboring property and falls within the build line of the existing structure. We will, honestly, the windows in that house, we think maybe some of them are original. We think some of them are not. We don't really know. We've had lengthy conversations about windows with Ben and Kate. So we would like to replace those, but if we can salvage them, we would. But if we can't, then we would, we know there are guidelines and we would expect to kind of live within those. So that's kind of a little bit of an overview. You may have more specific questions, but that's where we really, as we approached it, we were thinking about, shoring up the structure, rehabilitating some substandard additions that have been made over the years, enabling it to be more of a primary residence, all of that kind of in keeping with the guidelines that you all have. So that's a bit of an overview, and I will not be able to answer any of your questions, but Jeremy can.
Thank you. Commissioners, questions or comments about things we're looking at?
So one of our goals, I guess, as a commissioner would be we can't keep the house all the way around original, but I think the front facade is very important. To that end, we have a picture now, and your goal is to use that to guide you. Would you be opposed to trying to use the original style columns as in the picture instead of the round columns that are more, for lack of a better term, generic, ubiquitous? That's just a term, wood.
Right. Well, in all of our discussions with Kate and Ben, it was, Queen Anne style house, and these columns you find around the area, and they're more of a Greek Doric column, and they are in keeping with the house, but we can definitely look into that for sure. These, with the large expanses that we have, these really don't feel in scale, but you definitely look into that for sure.
Well, they look pretty good to me. And the second thing I've noticed was, of course, on this original house, evidently they weren't too worried about ventilation, and they didn't even have any vents in the gables. And nowadays we don't really do that so much because we spray foam houses, and they're just fake. And would you consider not returning the gables to the front of the house, the vents in the gables to the front of the house? Would you consider doing that as well?
Sure.
As in the picture, it looks good as it is. Just
The only reason we had those is because it was what's existing before we had any
Sure.
of these images.
Sure.
So, sure.
I'm sorry, one thing I meant to mention but forgot, we believe that in any case, and we're gonna need to get a structural engineer involved, the roof of this house needs to be replaced. This is not a go fix it. If you walk up into the attic of this house, it looks like Noah's Ark. I mean, there are 2x4s going in 8 different directions. So I say that, I think for something like that, I think what's there today, if this house gets the refurb it needs, that whole roof is probably gonna have to be replaced anyway.
Or large portions.
Or large portions of it.
We have a structural engineer that's going to be doing the work to give us an assessment.
is that original roof line the same height as the proposed new one, or is the new one a little bit higher?
We've not touched it.
You've not touched it?
Everything matches existing.
Also, but it's a little hard to tell.
It does look steep.
That image is very deceiving for sure.
We talked pretty extensively about, like, when it comes time for a public hearing, a demolition, some sort of exhibit showing what would be demolished would be needed.
Yeah.
And they're just still in the process of getting that engineer, and a stabilization.
So I'm not sure I heard clearly your reaction to Joel's question about the posts. I think you are showing round posts in your proposal, and these are, it appears to be square at the top and the bottom, I guess, with a turn.
They have some
center.
kind of turning to them, yes.
And what was your reaction
I mean,
to?
we could definitely look into that for sure. It's not a sticking point for us.
It really, I mean, as evidenced by what you have brought to us, it would be more authentic.
And we've built houses with bigger square columns than those. If the proportion needs to be adjusted, I think that would fly.
It's really a distinctive column, the original one. And if it had more mass to it, it really might even be something that would make it even more special.
I'll say, I don't care about that.
That's good. Well, yeah, you're the one whose opinion is the primary here. Any other questions or comments? It's obvious that you took advantage of, in a good way, the earlier meeting, and we appreciate that, and the changes that you've made, I think, are much more acceptable to this commission. And as Kate pointed out, if there's demolition involved, that'll become an issue for discussion. And the fact that you're bringing an engineer in to really point out those things and the significance of various areas is important.
And naturally, I'd like to minimize
Yeah, of course.
curvature as much as possible.
Any other comments? Are you satisfied with what you've heard? I mean, do you feel like you've got a good indication?
I think what we were looking for today, and I think we've got it, is that this is directionally correct enough for us to go do that next level
Yeah.
of work, to get the structural engineer involved and
Yeah.
to identify the demo that's necessary, and then, figure out with Kate and Ben what else we need to come back with to seek formal approval. So this was kind of, for me, kind of like a red, yellow, green, and it's not a green, but it's like, okay, you can go ahead and take the next steps. I think we have what we need.
I didn't hear any commentary on the garage, and ADU placement. Does the commission feel comfortable with the placement of it?
I'll get the same plan.
Comments from commissioners
Not
about the
crazy
garage?
about the height of it, but
I was gonna say, there's something, the proportions are just a little
Little
off.
But I like where you placed it. I did a look around there today, and that, I think will,
And maybe because it's pushed so far back, that helps with it.
I'm sorry for not knowing this, but is the height, what is, in relation to each other, is it taller than the house, or are they about the same, or?
About the same. We are essentially matching the neighbor's garage to the right in height.
Is that right? Okay. I didn't realize it was that tall.
Sorry,
So,
As you face
Facing
it
it
to the right,
Yes.
on the 14th Street.
14th Street neighbor.
do you know the exact height of the garage versus the house? Okay.
We can document that. And
Yeah.
the whole
I think
idea
that's
behind the garage was that it felt like more like a carriage
Yeah,
house.
let's,
So you have a wall, rather than having a large roof mass all the way across.
And maybe the width of it makes it look
Look
taller.
Because the neighbor's garage is 2 bays wide.
There's some big garages back there.
Yes.
I think that the difference in the height of the flat roof and the top of the pitched roof exaggerates the height of the carriage house part of that.
But we can validate those points about the height of the auxiliary structure relative to our house and the structure
I
that
think
it
that's
will be adjacent
interesting.
to.
You could kind of soften that a little bit.
And we can lower ceilings in both of those, in it as well to help. We'll do a site section that shows it for next time.
Again,
We can do a site section that shows the house versus the garage. for you.
That would be great.
yeah, it would, because just looking at this, it almost looks like a lighthouse. Any other comments?
Thank you all for taking the time and energy and effort to
Yeah.
appear back in front of us and bring such a change. We appreciate that very much, and we appreciate you working with us.
Well, again, thanks to Ben and Kate.
Yes,
They're
thanks.
very, very free with their time, and very helpful with their suggestions.
And one last thing, obviously, whatever you might do to the front facade, you're gonna at least use that same thought process for the Adams side, even though it is not original. Does that make sense?
Yes, and we have.
Yeah.
We thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Kate, do you have anything else for us?
I do not.
Does any commissioner have any business they'd like to present? If not, is there a motion that we adjourn?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.